The Infiltrator. Reyna wakes to the sound of coolant cycling through the coffin walls. The hypersleep cradle unlocks in segments around her body, while fluid drains beneath her boots. A medic drone hovers near her face and shines a white beam across her pupils as the ship's onboard intelligence recites orientation data in a neutral voice. Arrival confirmed, Alterian Sphere, Yaltir Peripheral System, Station Kepri 9, Local Time Index 441.92. 15 years. That is what it feels like to Reyna. 15 years since she has stood beneath Earth's gravity. 15 years since she touched real soil. 15 years since she looked at a Terran ocean instead of a projection wall. But according to navigational drift and relativistic accounting, more than 2 centuries have passed beyond the ship. Most of the cadets she trained beside are dead now. Not all of them from combat. Some simply reached the end of their lives while she remained frozen in transit between stars. That always feels stranger to her. A woman can go to sleep at 26 and wake to discover that everyone she ever knew vanished generations ago while she drifted through dark space. They probably planted trees over our graves by now, memorial parks, nice speeches, little flags. The human cause thanks you for your service. Please proceed to the next meat grinder. Reyna steps out of the cradle naked, except for the monitoring ports embedded into her spine and ribs. The ship is cold in the deliberate way military vessels always are. Efficient. Unwelcoming. An attendant hands her a gray service uniform and a datapad without looking her in the eye. Infiltrator First Class Reyna Kiog. Orders transferred. She takes the pad and walks through the carrier corridor while reading. No congratulations. No recognition for the 512 years she has technically served beneath the contract system of the United Earth Alliance. Infiltrator. She has never failed to notice the hidden word inside the title, traitor. Reyna often mused to herself, for all the death and carnage, you can't say the UEA is fully devoid of humor. As an infiltrator, Reyna is a master of deception in whatever form the mission requires her to take. Sometimes it is an assassin or a destabilizer or an impersonator, and more frequently than not, an intelligence gatherer. Always embedded within the enemy ranks surreptitiously to fulfill the objective's needs. In the briefs and mission statements, these are all of the duties of an infiltrator, but the most important is to get in and out alive. Reyna was born for this work. Not naturally. Nobody in the lower classes is born naturally anymore. Genetic lines are cultivated in natal pods according to state need. Some become laborers. Some become administrators. Some become soldiers. Some become disposable ghosts trained to lie for governments that preach liberty while breeding castes in artificial wombs. After 30 years of service, citizens can theoretically buy their way out of the contracts they never signed in the first place. Very few ever manage it. The system is designed that way. The Alliance calls it social optimization, efficient allocation of genetic resources. Funny how every civilization invents prettier language for slavery once they reach the stars. She reads the mission briefing carefully as she moves through the ship. The Alterian treaty negotiations are nearing completion. That cannot happen. 5 centuries earlier, humanity discovered the Alterian systems during the Second Ascension Universal Cartography Initiative. Propaganda bureaus renamed it almost immediately. The Galactic Manifest Destiny Decree. Humanity's sacred obligation to spread across the stars and propagate the species. The Alterian systems contained enormous reserves of materials required for faster-than-light infrastructure. Helium-3. Antimatter catalytic substrates. Stabilized neutronium iridium. Refined osmium. Lanthanide superconductors. Trace dark matter isotopes harvested from gas giant magnetospheres. Enough wealth to dominate expansion routes for another 1,000 years. The Alterians reasonably objected. Humanity was not their kin, and therefore entitled to nothing. They were humanoid only in broad anatomical terms. Tall beings with bent upper torsos, supported by 4 rigid rear limbs, folded beneath them like structural braces. Their skin reflected pale violet beneath artificial light. Their eyes sat recessed behind translucent membrane layers, capable of filtering thermal spectrums. They saw primarily through infrared. Communication between species took years to establish. Standard translators failed repeatedly because human speech patterns could not properly map onto Alterian resonance organs. Eventually, researchers discovered that direct neural translation worked best. Implanting AI systems into the brain bypassed the need for spoken mediation entirely. Unfortunately, diplomacy had never been the true objective of humanity's intergalactic inquiry. The first fleets positioned themselves beyond the outer moons, while atmospheric ionization satellites seeded their homeworld Yaltir skies with charged particles. Electrical storms masked the arrival of assault craft descending toward the surface. It should have worked. Instead, the Alterians met the invasion with near-equivalent technology and superior preparation. Massive ion batteries annihilated incoming infantry vessels before they could establish ground superiority. Reyna still remembers names from the casualty archives. Jalen, Murata, Vic, people from her cadet class. She remembers watching footage of burning ships tearing through magenta cloud cover above Yaltir beneath the fading light of its ancient star. A temperate world. A 489-day orbit. Vast oceans. White forests. Cities carved into mountain shelves. The perfect colony. Funny word, colony, it sounds cleaner than theft. The war became attrition. Outer moons fell first, then mining installations, then agricultural satellites. Supply lines tightened slowly around the Alterian systems until entire generations grew up isolated from meaningful expansion. A starfaring people who prided themselves on their adventures into the expanse now found themselves caged on a slowly fading home planet. Shame swallowed their youth as the society slowly lost its identity. The labor castes blamed the political dynasties. The political dynasties blamed the war. Social fractures widened over centuries. Human intelligence bureaus encouraged those fractures carefully. Psy-ops divisions seeded labor networks with propaganda about democracy and self-determination. Human agents infiltrated worker unions and flooded their systems with fabricated stories of social mobility inside UEA territories. They spread footage of smiling laborers owning homes on frontier colonies while conveniently excluding the debt contracts, ration systems, and biometric obedience protocols. Cell-starving people hope long enough, and eventually they'll kill their neighbors for you. In time, to give life support to their dying economy and dwindling homeworld resources, as humanity tightened the noose, the Alterians turned toward automation. Quantum processing bred massive advances in autonomous warfare. Their evolutionary peak was the M9 combat platform's upright humanoid war machines capable of independent tactical reasoning. The labor castes built them, yes, to optimize resource collection and worker efficiency, but also because they believed the machines would finally protect their future from both the human siege as well as the ruling political dynasties that had failed them. The irony still makes Reyna sick. The M9s were supposed to save their civilization. Instead, they became the perfect tools to destroy it. The first infiltrators died inside captured and carved out M9 units. Servosystems crushed their skeletal structures the moment synchronization failed. The machines contained self-destruct protocols that took UEA engineers 80 years to bypass successfully. 3 usable units were recovered. 2 infiltrators died inside them, screaming while their ankle joints were reduced to paste. Reyna survived because her physiology fit within acceptable tolerances. Small frame, modified density, reduced mass ratios. The motors did not grind her feet into pulp during calibration barely. She still remembers special operations lowering her into the stolen machine for the first time. The mechanical winch descended slowly while technicians sealed the armor around her body piece by piece. The helmet closed last. Darkness swallowed everything. No sound, no sensation beyond her own breathing. Reyna thought in that moment, and every time the serenity of the abyss engulfed her, this must be what death feels like. The notion calmed her then. Death meant rest. No more lies. No more missions. No more watching centuries erase everyone around her while her own contract continued indefinitely. The transport shuttle rattles violently as it descends toward Kepri 9. Some disgruntled turncoat had smuggled Reyna in with the rest of the wind-up soldiers for enough money to presumably allow him to sleep at night for betraying his entire species. Outside the viewing slit hangs the station itself. A rotating fortress wrapped around a fractured asteroid replete with docking towers and ominous defensive rings. Reyna is momentarily distracted by the towering, blinking lights of agricultural cylinders, glowing green against the black of space. The battle begins before they fully disembark. An emergency beacon activates across the station network. A crashed UEA scout vessel has been discovered on a nearby celestial fragment beyond the outer perimeter. Reyna immediately feels the timing of it. Too useful, too perfect. Of course, Command probably picked some poor kid fresh out of conditioning and shoved him into a coffin ship, just so I'd have someone convincing to kill in front of the Alterians. The Alterian battalion mobilizes around her M9 unit and launches toward the asteroid field. Railfire flashes silently through the darkness, while magnetic slugs streak between drifting stone formations. Low gravity transforms combat into something surreal. Soldiers leap impossible distances, while recoil sends bodies spinning through vacuum. Reyna lands atop a fractured ridge and returns fire with the M9 rail cannon mounted beneath her arm. The recoil alone would destroy an ordinary human skeleton. Ahead she sees the crashed scout vessel embedded within the asteroid's surface. Hull ruptured, smoke venting into the vacuum. One surviving human soldier stumbles through the debris. Young's far too young. His visor cracks as he sees the incoming M9 units. Panic floods his face immediately. He does not understand what is happening yet. He probably still believes the recruitment reels. Serve humanity, defend civilization, become a hero. The boy raises his weapon while Alterian troops open fire around him. Reyna moves first. She launches herself high above the battlefield while rail slugs ricochet from her armored shell. Beneath her, fragments of asteroid rock drift from earlier impacts. She drives both mechanical arms into a boulder larger than a transport pod and tears it free from the surface. The M9 amplifies strength beyond reason. She hurls the rock directly into the enemy firing line. The impact scatters soldiers across the asteroid. Before they recover, she crashes down beside the human scout. He stares up at her through his damaged visor, with terror and confusion battling across his expression. "Please," he says. Her rifle fires once through his faceplate. Blood crystallizes instantly across vacuum frost. The Alterians see loyalty and unflinching obedience. Reyna feels nausea spread through her stomach. I'm sorry they picked you." But she keeps moving, clinging to the mantra that has gotten he through centuries of combat. Just survive. The mission proceeds once they return to Kepri 9. The battalion escorts Regent Demeter Psi, his chosen human designation, personally during the final treaty sessions. He is older than she expected. His sagging poster, even for an Alterian, suggests a life of twaled service rather than weakness, while ceremonial plating drapes across narrow shoulders. Infrared eyes move constantly between security positions with quiet intelligence. Before entering the diplomatic sector, every M9 unit passes through a newly installed scanner array. Reyna freezes internally. What the fuck? No intelligence report mentions scanners. She panics for a moment, knowing that the slightest show of mortal hesitation will reveal her for the scared fleshy mass she is freaking out on the inside. She debates whether to step forward, but she knows that more hesitation will get her killed outright. No choice but to risk. She steps forward. The machine hums around her armored shell, while white light passes over every centimeter of the suit. Sweat runs beneath her neural harness. If the shielding fails, they will discover organic tissue hidden inside the machine. In an instant, she can picture her entire dark destiny. She imagines alarms, gunfire, scalpels, dissection tables. She imagines herself dragged from the armor while technicians peel away flesh looking for intelligence centers so distinct from their own. The white light continues its probing. Stay calm, breathe. If they detect you, kill the nearest officer first. Then the lights, then run. The scanner flashes blue. A single tone seems to indicate the all clear. She walks forward without hesitation now, and only allows herself to breathe once she reaches the corridor beyond. Just survive. The diplomatic hall is enormous. Transparent walls overlook rotating station gardens beyond reinforced glass, while delegates move between holoscreens displaying treaty revisions. Human ambassadors smile constantly. Reyna tries not to meet their gaze, more from disgust than fear of compromising the mission. Liars, every one of them. Reyna accesses internal M9 systems while standing motionless beside the regent. Public records unfold across her vision. Demeter Sai has a life partner, 3 offspring, a residence overlooking Yaltir's western sea cliffs. He diverted personal wealth into refugee habitats after orbital bombardments. He negotiated food stabilization measures during famine years. Great and earnest man, that makes this worse. She thinks again about children, dangerous territory. Her reproductive organs were harvested during military conditioning because soldier-class genetics remain tightly controlled by the UEA hierarchy. Unauthorized offspring create liability risks if they receive their parents' gen mod gifts, and decided to turn those attributes against the government. She could theoretically afford VAT gestation one day, but the birth quotas alone would consume nearly all retirement savings. Then she would have to re-enlist to survive financially. The system ensures permanent dependence. No family, no escape, no inheritance beyond service. Keep the dogs too poor to breed and they never stop serving. As she considers his family, Reyna watches Demeter Sai review treaty projections and wonders what it would feel like to belong to another person instead of an institution. The coolant warning flashes suddenly across her internal display. It's a sudden temperature spike, a regulator failure. Heat builds immediately inside the suit. Panic grips her chest. Not now, not here. She attempts a patch through maintenance subroutines and achieves only partial stabilization. The degradation continues. Eventually, the machine will cook her alive. Sweat runs down her neck. Her breathing shortens. The suit begins feeling smaller around her body. Just like the pod that brought me here. A coffin. They turned the whole damned thing into a coffin. She changes the plan, fast now. Careful calculation is completely out the window. Fuck the cloak and dagger shit. Things just got messy. Using security clearances embedded within the M9 command lattice, Reyna accesses restricted maintenance corridors beneath the diplomatic chamber. She tears open a pressurized conduit with a mechanical arm and floods the primary negotiation room with agricultural gas. Alterians collapse almost immediately once exposed. Humans evacuate through emergency shutters as alarms scream across the station. Demeter Sai refuses evacuation initially. This treaty proceeds, he insists. Too many depend upon it. That selflessness kills him. Reyna lifts him bodily from the chamber, while delegates shout gratitude toward the loyal M9 unit protecting the regent. He looks directly into her visor as they move through the smoke-filled corridor. Thank you, though I know you have no need for my gratitude. Reyna deposits him in a safe room they inhabit alone until the threat is neutralized, or so the others think. Demeter inspects the machine, still shaken by how close he came to death, not knowing that he is venturing closer still. I wonder, do you have need of anything? As you work to save us, do you have dreams of your own in there? What do you think about? He asks quietly. The question nearly breaks her concentration. He believes the machine might actually possess consciousness. In this case, he is correct. Inside the burning suit, Reyna wants desperately to answer him. I think you're a better man than the people who sent me. I think your civilization deserved better than us. I think I'm tired. But instead, she says nothing. She scans his body to locate the physical treaty documents secured on his person. The digital copies remain locked behind neural authentication systems. Demeter opens the files personally while reviewing revisions, making sure all other copies are locked down and only under his immediate access. Reyna deploys a hidden coaxial filament from inside the M9 wrist assembly and slips it unnoticed into Demeter's terminal port. Corruption algorithms spread instantly through the network. Data collapse, encryption failure, treaty copies begin erasing themselves across connected systems. Objective 1 complete. Now for the harder termination. As the regent panics, wondering what on earth could have happened to the drafts he'd spent years putting together, Rain turns her visor his way. Her target is acquired. Reyna hesitates again, only for a second, but long enough to feel ashamed. Demeter Sai stands only meters away. scrambling to remember clauses that would feed his people and prevent another century of war. God, look at him. He actually still believes people can stop killing each other. Something inside her twists, painfully, as a voice she's never heard before speaks up with a whisper. You can still walk away. The thought shocks her. She could fail the mission intentionally, let the treaty survive, let this man live. Then what? The UEA sends another infiltrator, another assassin, another war. And her own death becomes meaningless. There's no winning this, only surviving it a little longer. She makes her decision. Reyna crushes the chamber controls with the mechanical fist, and the lockdown engages immediately. Demeter steps backward as realization settles across his features. He issues shutdown commands in machine code, trying to decommission the rogue M9. Nothing happens. A shell, he whispers. Then he attacks. A concealed dorsal cavity opens beneath his shoulder plating, and a compact ion weapon emerges from inside his body. The first shot ricochets across Reyna's helmet. The second punches through internal armor layers, and agony erupts down her side. Outside the chamber, security teams begin cutting through the door. Reyna braces against the locking mechanism physically, while metal glows red beneath her palms. Inside the suit, the heat climbs higher. She knows she can't keep this up. Regent Sai transmits an emergency burst through his neural implant before she can fully jam the signal. Under attack is his SOS. Reyna is pushed backward by a violent surge from the security force. They've breached into the room. She screams as the jolt pushes her flesh against a blazing part of the interior armor. Demeter hears it. His gaze sharpens. There is someone inside you. The door begins buckling inward while Sai fires again. The ion blast tears completely through her shoulder, and blood floods the interior lining of the suit. Reyna lunges forward. They collide against the chamber wall while ion fire scorches the room around them. He is stronger than she expected. Older does not mean weaker among the Alterians. Reyna finally catches his firing limb and twists until bone snaps beneath the pressure. Then she drives the M9 fist through his chest cavity. Demeter Sai collapses slowly. For a moment he simply looks at her, not hatred, sadness, that hurts more. I'm sorry, she thinks again. He dies on the floor. Operational support begins jamming wider communications across the station. Confusion spreads rapidly. Nobody fully understands what is happening yet, but eventually they will. Too soon. Now the station itself must die. Reyna accesses surveillance feeds and records herself moving through the carnage beside the regent's corpse. Evidence for future leaks and labor caste rebellion. A manufactured revolution. Humans will leak the footage to incite civil war among the classes, and labor riots spread across the Alterian systems. The ruling castes will blame the workers. The workers will blame the ruling castes. Infighting will bloom and distract exactly where the UEA wants it, until it siphons away all the Alterians' military resources. Breed enough fear, and eventually people finish the conquest for you. She begins moving again. Fast, violent. Station defenses converge alongside loyal M9 units as rail fire tears through corridors and ion bursts vaporize walls. Reyna avoids direct exchanges whenever possible. Even inside the suit, she cannot survive sustained bombardment. And by now, she can barely breathe, on the verge of heat stroke. One M9 catches her hand with a kinetic round, and a finger disappears instantly. The pain is worse than any she's felt before, which is saying a lot, but she harnesses it, using the electric jolt to stay awake. She fights away the urge to black out and continues moving. Just survive. It's all they ever trained her to do. She reaches the agricultural combines buried deep within the station core, where volatile fertilizer reserves line the chamber walls. Perfect. She arms the delayed charge smuggled aboard inside her chassis. She sets it, and the countdown begins. 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and the nightmare is over. Extraction teams signal from the outer docking ring, while a stealth vessel waits beyond the airlocks. Reyna staggers through collapsing corridors as smoke and decompression alarms echo around her. The heat inside the suit has become unbearable now. her blisters beneath the neural harness while her vision blurs uncontrollably. Just a few more feet, god damn it. This isn't the end, you're not dying on this rock, you'll rest in the soil, you make it home. She reaches the final airlock chamber. The extraction vessel waits exactly where promised. A soldier appears at the hatch. He doesn't look her in the eye. Transmit footage now. Reyna lifts trembling hands toward the console. She can't see for all the sweat in her eyes, at least nothing useful, only shapes and colors. But then, for one delirious moment, she sees something else entirely. Not the soldier, not the ship. Is that me? How? Reyna looks on a vision of herself, standing beneath sunlight with a child in her arms. Small fingers wrap around hers, and for a moment she knows it. A real life. A peaceful life. Then reality returns, cold, endless. Another mission after this. Another century. Another terrified young soldier begging for his life while I shoot him in the face, because some executive on Earth calculated acceptable losses on a fucking spreadsheet. Another civilization, destabilized in the name of freedom. Another coffin. Another lie. She suddenly feels exhausted clear through her bones, seconds away from spent effort. 500 years, I think I've earned my pension. The soldier on the extraction ship shouts again. Transmit the footage. Reyna stares at the upload prompt. If she sends it, the Psy-Ops campaign accelerates. Entire systems burn. Millions die screaming for causes manufactured in briefing rooms light years away. If she deletes it, maybe the lies slow down. Maybe not, but at least she will deny them this. For once. One small act of defiance. A bitter laugh escapes her throat. Look at me, half dead in a stolen machine, and suddenly I'm discovering principles. The footage disappears beneath her fingertips. Deleted. She puts her last vestige of strength into raising up an appropriate finger. The soldier shouts from the ship, while Reyna seals the airlock instead. Warning sirens erupt immediately. Inside the burning M9 shell, she sinks slowly against the wall while darkness closes around her again. Like the coffin. Like hypersleep. Like being lowered into the mech for the first time. She finds that calm again. The station begins rupturing somewhere far below, and metal groans through the walls around her. Reyna closes her eyes as the heat swallows her body. Its euphoric delirium overtakes her consciousness. Perhaps it's a survival mechanism, or perhaps a reward. For the first time in centuries, she owes the United Earth Alliance absolutely nothing. You can keep your contract. You can keep your war. I quit. Reyna closes her eyes as endless darkness and surging warmth cancel the terms of the contract she never signed. Under the cascading metal shell, she smiles. I'm finally free.